So today we have our first potential look at the 2021 iPad Pro through some leaked dummy units, courtesy of Sonny Dixon. And yes, I know what you're wondering, this looks identical to the current models, so what exactly is different here? Well, actually, if you do analyze the images, there are a few minor changes, notably a smaller camera bump, more speaker holes, and the lack of a smart connector on the bigger iPad Pro. Now, yes, I know the last change made absolutely no sense, but either way, let's delve into it. So without further ado, make sure to like and subscribe for the latest Apple news and rumors. And with that being said, let's just tuck in. So the source Sonny Dixon has an accuracy rating of 57%, which is pretty mixed, and do remember he did give us a very similar leak back in 2019 for the 2020 iPad Pros, and he mentioned we would see a triple lens camera system that never materialized because of course we saw a dual camera system with a LiDAR scanner instead, and so there is a very high chance that these leaked dummy units might not represent what we actually get with the 2021 iPad Pros. But either way, delving in, let's begin with the cameras on these dummy units, because essentially it's the same layout we have right now, so it's an ultra-wide, a wide, and a LiDAR scanner, so there is no telephoto to be seen. Though do note, because Mark Gurman did say the cameras would get better, there is a high chance that we could see the sensors from the iPhone 12 series make their way over to this year's iPad Pro. Now, moving our attention to the front of the device, you might notice the front-facing camera is unfortunately still in the portrait orientation, which is actually quite a huge bummer for me because in this age of video conferencing, a lot of us are using our iPads to, of course, interact with humans, and so having the selfie camera in the most awkward position possible isn't the greatest idea in the world, and so I am pretty disappointed that seemingly Apple overlooked this, because this could have been a huge upgrade with the 2021 models that would have enticed so many people to upgrade. Now, in terms of the bezels on the front, they look to be the same size as the current models, which goes against the information I got from Michael and a source who claimed the bezels would be slightly smaller, though to be fair, the lighting is pretty terrible in these images, and so I can't tell for sure if the bezels are smaller. I'm just roughly estimating, and so it could very much be the case that the bezels with the final model could actually be slightly smaller. Anyways, let's move on to the mini LED panel, because one big giveaway that the 11-inch model is not getting mini LED is the fact the camera bump is not as flush as it is on the 12.9-inch model, and so that clearly means that, much like some rumors have suggested, the 12.9-inch iPad Pro is having a slightly thicker body to accommodate mini LED, and so yes, unfortunately, these leaked dummies do also showcase the lack of mini LED on the 11-inch model. It clearly will have LCD instead. Right, so let's now address the lack of a smart connector on the bigger iPad Pro. So you might notice in these dummy units, the 11-inch has a smart connector at the bottom, much like the current models, but the 12.9-inch model does not. Now, Sonny says he's not sure whether this was a mistake or whether this was intentional by Apple. Now, Michael's source does tell me that this was a mistake, but of course, that source does not have any credibility, and so let's assume that the smart connector is disappearing. What exactly is then going on? Well, my first theory is a bizarre one, but maybe Apple is planning to go portless with the next iPad Pro, and maybe they are moving the smart connector to the side of the iPad, and maybe that's what you use to charge it from now on. Now, let me be clear, this is something I'm completely against. This is a terrible idea, but of course with the iPhone 13s, Apple is going portless, and so I can maybe see Apple experimenting with the portless idea on the iPad first and kind of seeing how it could possibly work. Also, let me remind you, with a Pig 2 render a few weeks ago, we did see a smart connector on the sides, and so if these leaks are legit, that does suggest to me that Apple has been wondering about this, and maybe they do want to go ahead with this with the 2021 iPad Pro. It's either that or maybe Apple is moving the smart connector on the iPad purely because of space constraints, maybe because of mini LED, and so if they do move the smart connector to the side, then that means you won't be able to use any existing cases with the new iPad Pro, because right now pretty much all the accessories connect via the back with the magnets and the smart connector being there, and so you won't be able to use any accessories we have right now with the iPad Pro if they moved the smart connector, and so that could explain why we have heard rumors about a new Magic Keyboard. Maybe Apple's giving us a new one purely because they had to move the smart connector to the side, and so they need a new Magic Keyboard. That of course could support this. However, I do have another theory, and that is maybe Apple is implementing MagSafe on the iPad Pro. So clearly Apple is trying to create an ecosystem of MagSafe devices, and so there is a chance that maybe we could see the MagSafe ring on the iPad Pro 2, and so that maybe is the new way of connecting accessories on the bigger iPad Pro, much like we see on the iPhones. Now yes, I know what you're thinking, the iPad doesn't have a glass back, so wireless charging and MagSafe in general won't work, right? Well no, because the Pixel 5 has an aluminium back, but it uses a bioresin material on top of the aluminium to of course give you wireless charging, and so Apple could do a very similar thing with the new iPad Pro if they wanted to. Anyways, enough theorizing, let's move on to our final change, and that is the number of speaker holes with these dummy units. So a lot of cases and leaks have suggested the number of speaker holes on the new iPad Pros will be reducing, but weirdly enough, with these dummy units, the number of speaker holes have increased, specifically 20 on the left side and 15 on the right side, which is quite a jump from around 11 speaker holes on the 2020 model. Now this is where things get a little sus for me, because number one, a lot of case manufacturers have already made their cases for these iPad Pros based on CAD renders from the supply chain, and so it would be pretty weird that they would have gone ahead with, of course, the production of their cases if they weren't sure about the number of speaker holes, and so since they are already selling cases with less speaker holes, it does lead me to believe that these leaked dummy units might be bogus. But let me know in the comments below, where do you stand with these dummy units? Do you think they're legit? Do you think they're fake? Because personally, I am leaning towards these being untrue. And on that note, thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. For the latest Apple news and rumors, check out the video in the icon above about some dummy units for the iPad Mini 6. And on that note, I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya, peeps.